After I was diagnosed with cancer, my parents didn't believe me, my brother mocked me, and the fake heiress was smug. In despair, I was about to end my life when a barrage of comments appeared. Here we go again. The female leads in these tragic stories are all delusional, thinking they can punish their families by dying. Hurry up and die. It must feel great to watch your family regret everything from the afterlife, right? The heroine becomes a ghost just to see her family love her. This is the most disgusting part of death literature. I blinked. Could I become a ghost? I quickly put on a bright red dress and embroidered shoes, then hanged myself at the front door. When I opened my eyes again, I was floating in midair, filled with fierce resentment, smiling like a ghost. Bullet comment. Wait, why do I feel a chill running down my spine? That's exactly right. This is a story about a vengeful female ghost. Looking at my own eerie and terrifying appearance in red robes, I couldn't help but smile sincerely. I had actually turned into a ghost, so, according to the plot, I should be floating in midair, watching my family weep in regret, beating their chests in anguish, and then go off to reincarnation feeling secretly pleased. What's the point of that? I can't survive this cancer, but I don't want to die in vain either. How much suffering did I endure after being abducted for 10 years? And how many scornful looks did I face in the 3 years after returning home? I remember it all, looking up at the villa gate. My corpse swayed in the darkness of the early morning, wearing a bright red dress and embroidered shoes, with disheveled hair and a bruised face. Truly terrifying. The first to discover me was the nanny, who was so frightened she burst into tears on the spot, completely forgetting about making breakfast. The screams tore through the villa's tranquility. Lights flickered on one by one, followed by increasingly frantic shrieks. Finally, my family was startled awake, rushing downstairs in their pajamas. My father strode forward with an imposing presence, his voice full of authority. What's all this noise? The nannies trembled, all pointing toward the front door. My father took one look, and his expression changed abruptly. My mother and brother also noticed, a flicker of shock and panic flashing in their pupils. But their instinctive reaction wasn't to rush over and pull me down. Instead, they took several steps back. Fear far outweighed care. I sneered repeatedly, thinking that if it were the fake heiress Sue Man hanging there, even if her corpse had started to rot, the family would have rushed over without hesitation. At that moment, Sue Man came downstairs, yawning repeatedly, pouting and muttering, "Mom, Dad, brother, what's going on? It's not even dawn yet." My brother, Su Huijin, quickly covered her eyes. "Be good, go back to sleep, nothing's wrong." But Su Man was stubborn and pried his hand away. "What on earth is going on?" As soon as she finished speaking, she froze, because she also saw my swaying corpse. She screamed in fright and hid behind Su Huijin. Su Huijin held her with concern, comforting her repeatedly. "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. It's that lunatic Su Mang, hanging herself in the middle of the night. How unlucky." My mother also patted Su Man's back. "Good girl, go upstairs with your brother, we'll handle this." Su Man whimpered twice, tears in her eyes as she went upstairs, but I clearly saw the hidden delight in the corner of her eyes. No matter how scared she was, seeing me dead still brought her joy. The barrage exploded at that moment. Unbelievable family. How can they remain indifferent when their own daughter hanged herself? Damn, I really want to slash Su Man to death with a knife. I saw it coming. The female lead died for nothing, all because of your damn death literature. If he didn't love her when she was alive, would he love her after she died? The female lead is too naive. The barrage comments show a bit of pity for me. Little did they know, I wasn't sad at all. From the moment I put on the red dress and hanged myself, this was no longer some bullshit dead person's literature. My anger was soaring, making the atmosphere even more eerie. Alive, I suffered. Dead, I was despised. I truly couldn't get a shred of love. Without the slightest hesitation, I lunged at my mother, strangling her first. The result was actually repelled, and the impact nearly shattered my ghostly form. I was utterly shocked. What on earth was happening? The barrage of comments was also stunned, with everyone chiming in. Damn, so that's what it was. The female lead changed into red clothes and hanged herself to seek revenge. I thought she just wanted to die looking beautiful. The female lead's mother is a Buddhist, wearing a blessed amulet around her neck, making it difficult for the female lead to kill her. Isn't this a story about the dead? I'm immediately recharging to read the rest. I looked at my mother's neck, where a flash of golden light vanished instantly. It was then that I remembered my mother had a habit of wearing an amulet. It's ironic, really, that my mother only started believing in Buddhism after I was kidnapped. She prayed day and night, hoping to find me again, but when I was finally found, she favored the fake heiress, Sue Man, and her annoyance with me ultimately outweighed her love. I gave a cold smile, slowly rose into the air, and looked toward my father. My dad doesn't have a Buddha amulet. My dad has completely calmed down by now. He instructed the servant to put me down and then made a phone call. The hearse from the funeral home should be arriving soon. Tonight's incident must not be spread by anyone, or I will not let them off lightly. He threatened the servants, then said to my mother, "There's no need to save Su Mang. I'll have the funeral home take her away for cremation as soon as possible." My mother hesitated for a moment, then nodded heavily. "All right, this girl, why couldn't she think it through? She didn't want me to die, but now that I'm truly gone, her sorrow is no more than a ripple in the ocean." My dad told my mom not to be sad anymore, and he even blamed me. Su Mang deliberately wore a red dress and embroidered shoes to hang herself, clearly trying to disgust us. "I've said it all along. She's mentally ill. I am indeed mentally ill. I was abducted for 10 years, my body and mind nearly shattered. After returning home for 3 years, I thought I could heal the trauma, but instead, I was completely broken. How could I not be ill? Since you made me sick, I'll make you die, soon." The funeral home staff arrived. My body was loaded into the vehicle, and the family driver also drove my father to the funeral home. I sat in the car, glaring gloomily at my stern father. I didn't act immediately, but rather took time to adjust to my ghostly state. During this period, I discovered that I could tug at my father's clothes, which meant I could interact with objects in the living world. As dawn approached, a hint of white appeared in the eastern sky. I began to feel a bit uncomfortable. Obviously, daytime is not suitable for ghostly activities. My lethality would be greatly reduced, and physical attacks like strangling or twisting necks wouldn't be very effective. But for a ghost to harm someone, all it takes is exploiting human fear. Thinking this, I gave it a try. With a thought, I suddenly materialized. Dad remained unmoved. He couldn't see me, but I saw myself in the rearview mirror. Dark hair, pale face, eyes bloodshot red, a sight that even frightened me. Uncle Wang, the driver, suddenly froze, every hair on his body standing on end, cold sweat pouring down. He also caught a glimpse of me through the rearview mirror. I quickly hid myself. Uncle Wang is a good man. He has been taking me to school for the past 3 years and often comforts me. I don't want to scare him to death. He rubbed his eyes hard, realized I was gone, deliberately turned his head to take a look, and then let out a trembling sigh of relief. My dad frowned and asked, "What's wrong?" Uncle Wang wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, hesitating to speak. My father was displeased and told Uncle Wang to speak. Only then did Uncle Wang speak up. I think I saw Miss Su Mang." My father snorted coldly. "Are you trying to hint at me? Could she have turned into a ghost?" Uncle Wang didn't dare to say another word. My father finally calmed down. "Even if she turns into a ghost, what is there to fear? It's all her own fault." Uncle Wang sighed to himself and drove in silence. That day, after my father handled my funeral arrangements, he had the funeral home cremate me directly. I watched coldly from the sidelines, waiting until he returned to the company and walked into his office alone before I bared my pale, gleaming teeth. Night has fallen again, and the discomfort has vanished. It's time for me to act. I drift into the office. My father is holding a glass of red wine, leisurely admiring the night view outside the floor-to-ceiling window. As if the death of his daughter today were just a trivial matter, I immediately threw myself over and landed on his back. He didn't have any particular reaction, just frowned, then rubbed his neck, feeling a bit uncomfortable. At the same time, my mom called to ask if my dad had finished handling the cremation. "It's done. From now on, we don't have a biological daughter anymore. Only Su Man is our daughter." My father's tone was flat. My mother fell silent for a moment, a hint of desolation in her voice. "But she's our own daughter, so what? We've already taken good care of her. She brought this on herself. We have a clear conscience." My father snorted heavily. My mother was left speechless and could only hang up the phone. I squinted my eyes, my heart filled with overwhelming resentment. "You care for me deeply, then why, when I was sick and hospitalized, could you so easily take Su Man on a trip? Why, when I was being bullied at school, did none of you take the time to stand up for me? Why, when I placed the cancer diagnosis in front of you, were you still only focused on Suman's report card? I gritted my teeth and suddenly manifested. Since glass can act as a mirror, my figure immediately appeared in my father's eyes. He let out a loud cry. The red wine glass in his hand fell to the ground. And he himself was so startled that he stumbled backward, looking utterly disheveled. I remained motionless, clutching his neck tightly, staring at him with a venomous, sinister gaze. He was certain he hadn't misread the situation and, terrified, dashed out without even looking back. Once inside the elevator, he forced himself to calm down, glancing around while reaching out to touch his shoulder. Of course, nothing could be touched. At the moment he felt slightly relieved. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. That slap sent my father staggering, terrified. He covered his face and shouted, "Someone, come quickly," but the sound simply couldn't travel out. I didn't stop for a moment, slapping one after another, my face filled with the pleasure of venting my anger. I still remember a year ago, when I was so furious that I slapped Sue Man. Actually, she had set up a trap, deliberately provoking me to hit her, but that slap enraged my father. He tenderly touched Sue Man's face, then glared at me darkly, forcing me to slap myself. I had slapped Sue Man once, so I had to repay it tenfold. That day, with tears streaming down my face, I slapped myself until my cheeks swelled and my teeth bled. It wasn't until Sue Man smiled that my father finally let me go. Now, I'm giving it all back. My dad's face quickly swelled up like a pig's head, and because my resentment was too intense, his entire face was invaded, becoming as stiff as charcoal. The barrage exploded at this moment. Holy crap, it's really revenge. Slap him a few more times. The female lead is so terrifying, but slapping her feels so satisfying. It still doesn't feel satisfying enough. This despicable father must die. I think so too. He must die. In the struggle, the elevator doors opened, and my dad rushed into the parking lot, escaping into the company's private car. Stepping on the gas and speeding away, he thought he had escaped. Little knowing that I was quietly sitting in the back seat, only when the car entered the sparsely populated suburbs, and I was sure there were no other cars on the road, did I reveal myself. Again, I appeared through the car's rearview mirror, but this time, my black hair was flying, my nails had grown long, and I approached my father with a sinister smile. He caught a glimpse of me in the rearview mirror, and his heart, which had just settled, suddenly leaped into his throat. Leaving him utterly terrified, the car became unstable, swerving wildly like a falling leaf. As I drew closer and closer, he cried out in fear, "Good girl, Daddy was wrong, Daddy was wrong, don't kill Daddy, go away, go away." How could I possibly walk away? I lunged forward abruptly. He felt a heavy chill run through his entire body, and through the car's rearview mirror, he saw my face right next to his. Finally, he completely broke down. Bang, the car lost control, crashed into the guardrail, spun 5 or 6 times, and ended up with its wheels in the air. The frame almost shattered. I crouched on the ground, watching my father bleed continuously. He was down to his last breath, wailing in the crevice, using all his strength to cry for help. "Good girl, save me, save me." He couldn't see me, but he knew I was there. I stood up and clapped my hands. How could I possibly save him? Soon, he bled out and died in extreme pain and fear, amid the cheers and the bullet comments. I showed the first genuine smile I had in the 3 years since returning home. As I was about to leave, my dad's cracked screen phone rang. I tapped to answer, and my mom's voice came through from the other end. "Old Sue, why do I feel my heart beating so fast? Are you okay?" My dad naturally didn't respond. My mom asked, puzzled, "Speak up, where are you?" Still no response. My brother Su Huijin spoke up from the side. "Mom, what are you worrying about? Based on past experience, Dad is probably in a meeting. He's just afraid you'll worry if he doesn't answer the phone, so don't bother him. But I just feel like something's off," my mom said anxiously. "Stop overthinking." Su Huijin snatched the phone. "Let's hang up for now, Mom. Go keep Sue Man company. She's easily scared. I'm heading to the bar to unwind and shake off the bad vibes. That lunatic Su Mang is really getting on my nerves." My mother said helplessly, "Go to the company to see your father first, then go have fun." "Got it," Su Huijin replied insincerely. "He definitely won't come looking for my dad." Without lingering any longer, I drifted toward the misty night bar, where Su Huijin often went. "Dear brother, it's your turn now. When I arrived at the bar, the atmosphere was at its peak. I spotted Su Huijin at a glance. He was seated in the most expensive booth, surrounded by fawning women. Someone asked him why he seemed a bit unhappy tonight. He smirked and said, "I'm not unhappy at all. I just ran into something unlucky, and it really disgusted me." The unlucky thing he was referring to was, of course, my hanging. In fact, even before I died, he had always thought I was unlucky. Even on my first day back home, he scolded me for being unlucky. Just because I didn't change my shoes in time and dirted the floor, his obsessive-compulsive disorder flared up on the spot, scolding me until my face flushed red with shame. But how I longed to have a brother who loved me. So for 3 years, I carefully tried to please him, cooking for him, knitting him sweaters, giving him gifts, yet, without exception, he sneered coldly, "Get lost, you jinx, now that I'm dead." Hanging right in front of him, he still thinks I'm a jinx. I laughed too. 100 times more bitterly than he ever did. Then, I fixed my gaze on a girl in a white dress sitting at the edge of the booth. She was listless, forcing a smile but clearly unwell, obviously not feeling well. In my eyes, she was extremely weak in yang energy, making her an easy target for possession. Such a living person is not easy to come by. I swept over like a gust of wind and indeed easily possessed her. Meanwhile, Su Huijin drank while pinching the cheek of the girl beside him. "I just find it unlucky, so I came here to cleanse my eyes. Everyone, drink up. Tonight, I'm paying for everything." "Great." The girls were overjoyed, each drinking wildly. Only, I didn't drink. I have now possessed the girl in the white dress. I am her. Su Huijin immediately noticed me, his face darkening. "Hey, why aren't you drinking?" "I don't want to," I replied lazily, watching Su Huijin with amusement. His anger flared up instantly, his tone turning cold. "Why don't you want to?" The girls around were so frightened they didn't dare breathe, all giving me meaningful looks, and some even pulling at me. "Seeing you makes me feel unlucky. I'm almost sick to my stomach. Can't drink." I crossed my legs, becoming even more provocative. Everyone was so shocked their eyes nearly popped out. Su Huijin, furious to the point of laughter, pointed at me and cursed, "You've got guts. You really have the nerve. How do I remember having slept with you? Weren't you the one kneeling on the ground, acting like a dog for me? Who gave you the courage to talk like this?" "Is that so?" I laughed too. "You 3-second man, you're not worthy of having me as your dog. Just seeing you brings me bad luck." Hiss, the crowd erupted in an uproar. Su Huijin instantly exploded with rage, his eyes bloodshot, and hurled a wine bottle at me. I nimbly dodged and raised my voice. "Young Master Su, is that really necessary? There's no need to feel inferior just because you're not good in that area. Many women are willing to accommodate you. I'm just not one of them. Damn it." Su Huijin clenched his fist and swung it toward me, causing chaos all around. As I ran, I deliberately knocked over drinks at other tables, sparking even more commotion. Many people were displeased, including quite a few wealthy young gentlemen. They blocked Su Huijin, which made him even angrier. He lashed out with a string of curses. "Get the hell out of my way. I'm going to kill that bitch." He didn't even notice the constant flashes of cameras around him, and the disgraceful behavior of this well-known socialite quickly spread across the internet, and what Su Huijin cared about most was his reputation. Taking advantage of the chaos, I easily left the bar, hailed a taxi, and asked the driver to take me to the hospital. I didn't leave this sickly body until I was taken to the hospital for a checkup. Then I drifted all the way back to the Su family. It was already the middle of the night by then, yet the Su family's house was brightly lit, and my mother was scolding Su Huijin, "Look at what you've become. It's all over the internet, and the shareholders are furious. Do you even resemble a Su family heir anymore?" Su Huijin's face turned ashen as he listened, his eyes fixed on the video on his phone. The video naturally showed him going wild in the bar. He was making a complete fool of himself, shouting and cursing, even hitting those who tried to stop him. The person filming the video kept explaining, "Wow, look, the young master of the Su family has gone crazy. It seems he had a falling out with the hostess. The hostess called him a 3-second man." There were many noisy voices in the video, all of them filled with mockery. "Damn, a 3-second man, really? The hostess must be crazy. Willing to offend her patron just to tell the truth. 3 seconds isn't bad either. With that speed, you can wiggle 7 or 8 times." Bang! Su Huijin suddenly threw his phone to the ground, then stiffly fell backward, fainting on the spot from anger. My mother was terrified and was about to help him up, but the butler, Uncle Wang, rushed into the villa under the cover of night. Madam, it's terrible, Mr. Su, he's been in a car accident. My mother trembled, no longer caring about Su Huijin. She rushed out in a panic, only telling the nanny to look after Su Huijin. I stared at my mother's retreating figure. There was always a golden light around her neck. That amulet is really getting in the way. But for now, let's deal with Su Huijin first. My plan was actually to make Su Huijin so angry that he falls ill, so I can possess him when he's weak. I never expected him to get so angry that he fainted directly. That's even better, fainting from rage and anger, with the same weak yang energy. Cannot withstand this evil spirit of mine, as soon as I possessed the body. I opened my eyes. The nannies breathed a sigh of relief and tried to help me rest. I twisted my neck and spoke somewhat stiffly. Where is Su Man? The young lady is resting. She was quite frightened by Miss Su Mang and has just managed to fall asleep. I snorted coldly. It seems she's feeling a bit guilty, which is why she can't sleep well. I strode upstairs. When I reached Su Man's door, I stopped. Her room is the largest in the house, decorated like a fairy tale kingdom, and I always envy it whenever I see it. In the days after I first returned home, I had asked my parents to decorate my room as warmly as Su Man's. They agreed every time, but then forgot about it. Instead, it was Su Man who didn't forget. She always comforted me with a smile. Sis, don't worry, Mom and Dad are busy. They'll help you as soon as they're done. At first, I thought she was a good person, so when she invited me into her room to rest, I went in without hesitation. That was the most peaceful nap I ever had. Opening my eyes, Su Man was crouching outside the door crying, saying I had taken her room and occupied her bed. My parents stood by, suppressing their anger, staring at me through the half-open door. That look was not at all like that of family. It was more like the gaze of an enemy. I felt as if I had fallen into an icy abyss, curled up in Su Man's blanket, experiencing a bone-chilling cold for the first time. The next moment, my brother rushed in and dragged me off the bed. Have you no shame? Do you really think you're some kind of princess? You've dirted Su Man's bed, don't you know? Get off right now. Damn it. Just seeing you brings me bad luck, you disgusting piece of filth. I stumbled and crawled, crying out in fear. My parents looked at me with complicated expressions, ignoring me. I could only hide back in my room, listening to Su Huijin yelling at the servants outside, clean everything thoroughly, disinfect it completely. Are you blind? Can't you keep an eye on Su Mang? From now on, she is forbidden to enter Su Man's room. At that moment, I felt humiliation for the first time. It was also the first time I realized that my family didn't love me. Pulling my thoughts back, I twisted my neck again. Su Huijin's body was too tall and heavy, much harder to control than a girl's body, but after all, I am a fierce ghost, so I adapted. Without another word, I kicked open Su Man's door. A faint fragrance wafted over, and the warm, loving layout inside came into full view. 3 years later, I stepped into Su Man's room again. Su Man was puzzled, awakened by the noise. She looked at me with confusion. Brother, what's wrong? I strode in, grabbed her foot, and pulled hard. What's wrong? Your father is dead, and you can still sleep. Do you really think you're some kind of princess? Seeing you just brings me bad luck, you disgusting piece of trash. I cursed as I pulled. Su Man was dragged to the ground by me, dizzy with pain. Her eyes brimmed with tears, her lips trembling. Brother, what are you doing? It hurts so much. She always puts on this delicate, fragile, innocent act in front of the family, and it makes me sick to my stomach. I immediately slapped her across the face. How dare you ask me what I'm doing? Your father is dead. Get up and start mourning. That slap finally made her angry. She pushed me away with the back of her hand. Bro, are you crazy? Get away from me. I didn't say a word, just kept slapping her face. Every slap shattered a bit more of her delicate fragility. When her face swelled up like a pig's head, she cursed at me. Su Huijin, are you fucking insane or what? She also scolded the servants at the door. Are you all sick too? Pull him away from me. The servants looked at each other, hesitating and not daring to approach. I let out a sinister laugh and was about to break Su Man's neck when suddenly I felt my soul tremble. A voice came. Who is it? Am I dreaming? It's actually Su Huijin. This bastard woke up, his consciousness conflicting with mine, thinking he's dreaming. He's not sick or in pain. His body is strong, full of yang energy. He just fainted from anger earlier, giving me the chance to possess him. Now that he's awake, he's starting to drive me out. Without a word, I got up and ran outside. Su Huijin continued to scold. Who is it? What are you doing? Naturally, I paid no attention, but Su Huijin had a sudden flash of insight and exclaimed in shock. Su Mang. I paused in my steps, Su Huijin's voice suddenly rising sharply. Su Mang, you bitch. Get out of my dream. He couldn't figure out what was happening, so he could only explain it as a dream. Thinking I had invaded his dream, I looked up and saw that I was almost at the rooftop. Don't rush. I rushed up to the rooftop in one breath. Our family's luxurious villa is a full 7 stories high, and falling from the rooftop would certainly be fatal. In one swift motion, I vaulted over the guardrail and stood at the edge of the rooftop, my gaze fixed intently on the ground below. Su Huijin, who had been daydreaming, snapped back to reality in an instant. I could feel the trembling of his body, and my soul is not faring well either, scorched by the yang energy of the living, and about to be expelled. But I gritted my teeth through the discomfort, forcing a grin. Dear brother, you're not dreaming, you'll see me soon. Su Huijin's body trembled like a sieve, and he roared in terror. Su Mang, what are you doing? What on earth is happening? By now, chaos had erupted downstairs, in the brightly lit night. All the servants saw me standing at the edge of the rooftop. Su Man, her face swollen, also stood downstairs, shouting up at me, Brother, have you really gone mad? Don't jump. How could Su Huijin possibly jump? The stronger his control over his body, the more he could feel the fear brought by the height. Su Mang, step back from me. He was still shouting, but his tone had become faltering. I lifted one foot into the air, grinning as I said, Brother, you used to love telling me to jump off a building and die, so I've decided to just die. In this family, the one who has always hated me the most is Su Huijin. 2 words from his mouth have haunted me forever. One is, jinx, the other is, jump off a building. He calls me a jinx when he sees me, and tells me to jump off a building when he's angry with me. I remember that time I was hospitalized with a fever. The whole family went on a trip with Su Man. And I just said in the video call that I feel so miserable enough to want to die. Su Huijin got angry and told me to go jump off a building if I wanted to die, not to bother them. At that time, I really wanted to jump off a building and die, but in the end, I didn't take that step. Now, I'm going to take that step. I control Su Huijin's body, inching my way outward bit by bit. Su Huijin panicked and shouted, transitioning from angry curses to desperate pleas, even beginning to sob and cry. Sister, your brother loves you, really, I beg you, don't jump. Xiao Mang, your brother knows he was wrong. Please step back, I'm begging you, we are siblings, I am your own brother. I blinked and grinned. Siblings should be deeply affectionate, so let's die together. With the final step taken, amid Su Huijin's piercing screams and the gasps of the crowd below, I plunged headfirst downward. Blood splattered everywhere, my head shattered like a rotten watermelon. The night sky tonight is truly beautiful. The Su family was in utter chaos. Su Man was nearly in a state of shock. She sat on the sofa trembling, her fingers stiff as she called her mother, but Mom didn't answer. I had thought about finishing her off right then, but considering my mom's Buddhist amulet, I decided to hold back for now. I need to set up a plan to get rid of the amulet. At daybreak, my mom hurried back. At this moment, Su Huijin's body was covered with a white cloth, surrounded by filthy blood, emitting a foul and nauseating stench. Almost all the nannies in the villa had fled because Su Huijin had seemed too much like he was possessed by evil last night. The Su family was haunted. When my mother saw the white cloth, she froze on the spot, not even daring to approach, until Su Man staggered out, crying out loud, Mom, brother, she couldn't go on. But my mother guessed something. She couldn't believe it, moving step by trembling step to the white cloth, struggling for a long time before pulling back a corner, and then she saw Su Huijin's shattered face. My mother let out a cry of agony, nearly fainting on the spot. Su Man cried even harder, but she couldn't speak. She could only hold on to my mother, seeking comfort. My mother had no mind to comfort her, crying out repeatedly, Why Jean, what on earth happened? Old Su died in a car accident, and you, heavens, why are you doing this to us? Why? I laughed on the side, because God is kind. They cried for a long time before calling someone to handle the funeral arrangements. When Su Huijin's body was taken away, my mother seemed as if her soul had been drained. Sitting dazedly on the ground, tears silently falling. Su Man was much calmer now, after learning that her father had also died. She did some calculations and spoke, her skin covered in goosebumps. Mom, many nannies are terrified, saying our house is haunted. I kind of feel that way too, especially my brother is so eerie. He slapped me many times, then jumped off the building to kill himself, never saying a word, and he was still smiling when he jumped. Upon hearing this, my mother trembled. She regained some composure, tightly hugging Su Man to comfort her, while also seeking a bit of solace for herself. After a long while, she whispered hoarsely, "Is it, that Su Mang has returned?" My mother's words startled Su Man, making her shudder. She had actually guessed it too, but didn't dare to say it out loud. She could only look fearfully toward the villa entrance, as if I were still hanging there. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Let's go find the master to take a look." My mother took a deep breath and pulled Su Man, ready to go out. She was almost certain that I was the one causing trouble. Just as they were about to leave the house, I raised my hand and waved it. A cold wind swept by, and the door slammed shut heavily. My mom and Su Man screamed in terror, retreating all the way back to the sofa. I exerted my strength once more, sealing off all the windows. Now, the villa had become a sealed haunted house. Su Man, being timid, broke down on the spot. "Help, help." Her voice echoed through the empty villa. Unable to reach the outside world, my mother was much calmer. She wiped the cold sweat from her brow, looked around, and spoke in a trembling voice. "Su Mang, good girl, is that you?" I wanted to vomit. Every time she called me good girl, I couldn't help but feel nauseous. I directly found a mirror and wrote 4 crimson characters on it. "Take off the Buddha plaque." Then I threw the mirror at my mother's feet. Seeing the inexplicably appearing mirror, the two of them were startled again, when they saw the words clearly. My mother realized something and tightly covered the Buddha plaque. She was quite clever and immediately grasped the key point, speaking up to reassure Su Man. "Don't be afraid, Xiao Man, we have the Buddha amulet to protect us. It has been blessed by a master and can keep us safe." Su Man was overjoyed and clung tightly to my mother. I grinned, went to the kitchen, grabbed a fruit knife, and walked straight toward Su Man. They couldn't see me, but they could see the fruit knife. The coldly gleaming fruit knife was thrust straight at Su Man. Su Man was so frightened she nearly fainted, hiding behind my mother as the fruit knife circled around to continue stabbing at her. My mother cried out anxiously, "Su Mang, she's your sister." "Screw that." I quickened my pace and stabbed Su Man in the buttocks with a knife. Her buttocks were torn open, blood flowing everywhere, scaring her into running wildly toward the stairs. I chased after her with the knife and gave her other buttock a stab as well. She cried out in agony and fled back to my mother's side. My mother was both shocked and frightened, and she continued to urge me to stop. Unexpectedly, my neck suddenly hurt as Su Man snatched the Buddhist amulet away. I nodded in satisfaction. "Su Man, you're really clever. Mom, let me wear it." Su Man grabbed the amulet and put it on. Still shaken as she covered her buttocks, my mother was terrified. But she did not try to take the amulet back. I then took a knife and stabbed her. Again, it wasn't fatal. I aimed for places that wouldn't kill her, the buttocks, thighs, and back. My mother screamed in pain, constantly hiding behind Su Man, unable to bear it any longer. She reached out to grab the Buddhist amulet. "Xiao Man, put it on me quickly." Su Man's eyes flickered, and she actually pushed my mother's hand away. Running to the other side, my mother was stunned, her face turning ashen. "Xiao Man, you, don't call me. I have no blood relation to you, and none of this has anything to do with me." Su Man tightly clutched the Buddhist amulet, shouting in a state of panic, and didn't forget to call out to me, "Su Mang, I'm innocent. They favor me, and I don't want that either. I didn't know they were so foolish, loving an adopted daughter more than their own. Let me go. I have nothing to do with them." Su Man's every word was an excuse. And every word was also utterly heartless. My mother's face grew even paler, fear and shock intertwined, making her unsteady on her feet, and she fell to the ground with a thud. Seeing this, Su Man spat in disgust. "It's all your fault for being biased. You caused the death of your husband and your son, and now you want to harm me too. You're truly a beast, unworthy of being a mother. I'm ashamed of you. You wouldn't be wronged even if you died 100 times. Su Man hurled insults recklessly, all to show her loyalty to me. My mother's lips turned pale. She raised her hand to point at Su Man, trembling for a long time. but not a single word could come out, but her eyes were ablaze with fire, a desperate rage. "What are you pointing at me for, you beast of a mother? Go die," Sue Man cursed loudly, then tentatively ran toward the door, her face breaking into a fawning smile. "Sister, let me go. I have nothing to do with them." I naturally wouldn't let her go, but she had a Buddhist amulet on her, and she actually managed to push the door open herself, darting away in a flash. I simply let her run first, dealing with that beast of a mother first. My mother struggled to crawl out, staring at Sue Man, hoping she would turn back to save her. But Sue Man quickly disappeared outside the courtyard. With a wave of my hand, the door closed again. In extreme despair and terror, my mother broke down in tears. Good girl, Mom was wrong. Mom really deserves to die. Mom searched for you for so many years before finally finding you. Yet she complains that you're not as outstanding as Sue Man, not as good at making us happy. Mom was terribly wrong, my dear daughter. Please forgive me." I remained unmoved. Nor did I care whether she was truly repentant. I only want her to live a miserable life. Death would only set her free. I want her and Sue Man to suffer miserably for the rest of their lives. I wrote on the mirror again. This time, I demanded that she donate all her assets, leaving nothing behind. My mother dared not refuse, nodding with tears in her eyes. I continued writing, giving her 3 days to handle this matter. If it wasn't resolved in 3 days, would send her to the afterlife. My mother still nodded, trembling with fear and unease. I said nothing more, transforming into a gust of eerie wind and drifting away. Soon, I found Sue Man. She was hiding at a wealthy young man's house, clutching a Buddhist amulet and trembling, her face pale as a sheet. The wealthy young man liked her and kept asking what was wrong. "Stop asking, help me get some money, and then find a way to send me abroad. Isn't that simple? Give me your documents, and I'll buy the plane ticket for you." The wealthy young man didn't understand the situation. Sue Man continued to tremble. "My documents are at home. I can't go back. You figure it out yourself. Then I'll go get them for you." The wealthy young man was very enthusiastic. Sue Man opened her mouth, hesitated to speak, but still nodded in agreement. "She is very bad, but I'm not at home anymore, and my mom has left too." The rich young man easily obtained Sue Man's documents. Sue Man was overjoyed and finally stopped trembling. She hurriedly had the wealthy young man prepare the money and arranged for several bodyguards to escort her and accompany her abroad. The wealthy young man agreed to everything and even personally saw her off at the airport. Sue Man walked briskly onto the plane without looking back. However, the moment she stepped into the cabin, she let out a terrified scream, because the flight attendant is me, and the passengers are also me. Every face in sight is me. This is naturally the illusion I created for Sue Man. When all the passengers turned to look at her in unison, she instantly broke down and fled the plane in a panic. No one could stop her. She rushed all the way into the restroom of the waiting lounge, hiding in a stall and trembling with fear. I floated right beside her, waiting with a smile. When she stepped out of the stall and faced the mirror, I made a timely appearance right next to her. She screamed again and bolted toward the door. I spoke in a sinister tone. Go home, go back to your mother, never leave, or die, die, die." Sue Man froze. An extreme fear caused her whole body to convulse, eventually foaming at the mouth and collapsing in the bathroom. Her face even landed right in the mop bucket. 3 days later, I returned home again. My mother was on the verge of collapse, but she forced herself to stay strong and was in the process of signing a donation contract with a group of people, the company's shares. Properties in various locations, luxury cars under her name, anything of value was being liquidated and donated. With both pillars of the family gone, the Sue family had fallen into an abyss overnight. After seeing off the guests, my mother covered her face and wept bitterly, almost losing her soul. She has enjoyed a lifetime of blessings, and now it's finally time for her to start enduring hardships, to ensure she doesn't feel lonely while facing these hardships alone. I've also made backup arrangements. The door opened, and a dispirited Sue Man walked in. After fainting that day, she spent 3 days in the hospital and was only discharged today. I hurried home as soon as I was discharged from the hospital, afraid that if I didn't go back, she would come after me for my life. When my mother saw her, she didn't even have the energy to get angry, just stared at her fixedly. She didn't have much energy either, her eyes filled only with despair and numbness. She walked over to my mother's side and stood there, dazed. My mother finally spoke. Why did you come back? Sister, let me come back to you. Mom, I'm still your daughter. Upon hearing this, my mother froze for a moment, then grabbed her hair desperately and began to wail. It was a wail like that of a wounded beast. Obviously, she guessed my intention. I want them to be together forever and ever. This is a shackle that neither she nor her daughter can break free from, since you love so deeply. Then love on wholeheartedly. 6 months later, I traveled around the magnificent rivers and mountains and returned home. This trip was very enjoyable. Although I was just a ghost, it fulfilled a long-held wish. I had envied Sue Man countless times, envying how she could always travel during holidays and how she always had family to accompany her on trips. But I had nothing. Now, free and unconstrained, I had a great time, humming a tune. I returned home to find the villa renovated and new occupants living there. Clearly, the mother and daughter had long since left this place. I searched all over the city and finally found them in a garbage dump in the old town. They were disheveled and hunched over, one dragging a garbage bag, the other rummaging through a trash can. People nearby were pointing and whispering, "Those two lunatics are back digging through the trash for food. They have hands and feet. Why can't they do something else?" Probably a mother and daughter. It's quite pitiful. Last time, I threw away a bag of feces, and they fought over it, thinking it was something good. In this day and age, to have fallen to such a wretched state, it's really unbelievable, because they were speaking loudly. Their words reached the ears of the mother and daughter, especially the phrase, "It's really unbelievable." Sue Man stopped rummaging through the trash, began to tremble. Then grabbed a broken bottle and turned to stab her mother. "It's all your fault. It's all your fault, you beast of a mother," she screamed, cursed, the broken bottle covered in blood. Her mother, however, showed no reaction. Instead, her gaze wandered, her expression dazed as she stared in my direction. I met her eyes. And she suddenly raised her hand, waving it. Good girl, I understand. She is dying. The dying can always see things they shouldn't. At this moment, she seems to truly regret it. Beneath that vacant gaze, a kind of longing emerges, longing for me to go over, call her Mom, or give her a hug. But I just turned away indifferently and walked into the shadows under the sunlight. It's too sunny. Ghosts don't feel comfortable, after staying in the mortal world for a while longer. I felt my resentment had completely dissipated. That very night, I left with Oxhead and Horseface, go to be reborn. 10 months later, in a private delivery room, a baby girl was born. The exhausted mother looked at her with tired eyes, her smile curving into a crescent moon. The baby girl struggled to open her eyes, gazing at her mother with innocent curiosity, and suddenly let out a little laugh. She was just a little thing, understanding nothing, yet she smiled. Perhaps it was because she saw the love in her mother's crescent-shaped eyes. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. When I, the true daughter of the Shin family, was brought back, the imposter daughter clung to my biological mother, sobbing and sniffling, but deliberately shot me a challenging look. So I spoke up. I really don't want to stir up trouble. But Mom has a cleanliness obsession. Crying like this is getting snot and tears all over her. Shen Mingzhu awkwardly let go of her hand, her eyes filled with embarrassment. If my biological father came home even a minute late, I would ask my biological mother, does he have another family? That night, the two of them had a huge argument. My fiancé's white moonlight proudly flaunted his love for her in front of me. I quietly spoke up, if he's so rich, why didn't he go find you all these years you were abroad, and why did he get engaged? Is he trying to make you the other woman? The white moonlight froze. Later, when I tried to speak again, someone covered my mouth. Shut up, you're just trying to stir up trouble. When I found out I was the real daughter of the Shin family, I was working as a mediator in the community, trying to resolve a dispute between a middle-aged couple who were arguing over a trivial matter. I accepted the fact that my current parents were not my biological ones with unusual calmness. After all, two gentle people probably couldn't have given birth to a troublemaker like me. That's not what I said. It's the evaluation my neighbors have given me over all these years. When I got into the luxury car sent by the Shin family, another mediator sister watched me leave with tears in her eyes. I was also a bit moved and held her hand sincerely, saying, "It's okay, I'll be back. Don't be reluctant to see me go. No, please don't come back," the mediator sister said, glancing at her office, which had been smashed to pieces. They didn't want to get divorced originally. but with just a few words from you, they insisted on it. This is already the fifth couple you've broken up. I shut my mouth, not daring to say another word, but I really am not someone who stirs up trouble. Mrs. Shen, Lin Qingwan, was already sitting in the car waiting for me. She glanced at me with a frown and subtly shifted her position. I raised an eyebrow and took the initiative to greet her. Hello, Lin Qingwan pursed her lips, her voice soft as she spoke. The butler should have explained everything to you. I am your mother. I nodded, then blinked and asked, I don't mean to stir up trouble, but I just wanted to ask, did you shift your position just now because you don't like me? Lin Qingwan froze for a moment, then quickly sat back down. No. It's just that I'm a bit of a neat freak. How could a mother ever dislike her own daughter? Lin Qingwan added hastily, as if worried I might overthink it. Returning to the Shen family's grand villa, as soon as I stepped through the door, a figure swept past me like a gust of wind. I glanced at the woman who was sobbing softly in Lin Qingwan's arms and thought to myself that this must be the fake heiress Shen Mingzhu, who had been switched with me at birth. Shen Mingzhu cried so hard she could barely catch her breath, with snot and tears smeared all over her face. Mom, I can't bear to leave you. A flicker of heartache flashed in Lin Qingwan's eyes. She reached out and patted Shen Mingzhu's back. It's all right, Mingzhu, you're still my daughter. I can't bear to let you go either, and I won't let you leave. But my sister is back. Shen Mingzhu's eyes brimmed with tears, yet her gaze toward me betrayed a hint of smugness. How could I possibly continue to occupy my sister's place? I looked at Shen Mingzhu's glowing face and timidly raised my hand. I really don't mean to stir up trouble, but Mom has a cleanliness obsession, crying and hugging her like this. You're getting tears and snot all over her clothes. From the very first day I met Mom, I knew she had a cleanliness obsession. You should know that too, right? As soon as the words were spoken, Lin Qingwan also came to her senses, instinctively. She extended 2 fingers to push Shen Mingzhu away, then lowered her head to look at her clothes. Sure enough, they were also glistening. Lin Qingwan immediately took off her coat in disgust. Her cleanliness obsession was real, not just an excuse to brush me off. Shen Mingzhu's expression also turned unpleasant. I continued, and don't talk about taking over or not. I know Mom definitely has feelings for you, so I won't make things difficult for you. I don't want Mom to be upset. After these words, Lin Qingwan looked at me with full approval and a hint of hidden heartache. She took my hand and said, Good child, now that you're back, Mom will definitely not let you suffer. I chose the room myself. Shen Mingzhu had actually offered to give me her big room, but I turned it down. I really don't want to stir up trouble, but you clearly don't want to give me the room, yet you pretend to be generous. Is it to make both me and Mom feel guilty toward you? My words were straightforward. And Lin Qingwan wasn't a fool. The slight guilt she had just felt toward Shen Mingzhu vanished again. I didn't come downstairs until dinner time in the evening. When passing by Shen Mingzhu's room, I happened to see her open the door. Recalling the events of the day, she glared at me with intense hatred. Just you wait. What does it matter if you're the biological child? Mom and Dad will always love me the most. I glanced at her, opened my mouth to say something, but then shook my head as if remembering something. Shen Mingzhu was baffled by my series of actions. What do you mean? Explain yourself clearly. You really are someone who loves to stir up trouble. Since Shen Mingzhu insisted on pressing the matter, I had no choice but to answer her. I looked at her with sincere eyes and said, I really don't mean to stir up trouble. Mingzhu, Xia Anren, come down for dinner now. Lin Qingwan's gentle voice rang out, without paying any more attention to Shen Mingzhu, who was so angry that her eyes were crooked and her mouth was twisted. I turned and went downstairs. I can't quite figure it out. Lin Qingwan seems gentle and generous in temperament, so the one who could raise a troublemaker like Shen Mingzhu and give birth to a little devil like me must be Shen Guohua. I originally thought I would see Shen Guohua at the dinner table, since Lin Qingwan had told me during the day when she picked me up that he was too busy at the company to get away, but he would be back in the evening. Mom, where is my, father? Calling Lin Qingwan, Mom, came easily to me, but calling Shen Guohua, Dad, felt a bit awkward, to say the least. He's too busy today and won't be able to make it back for dinner. Lin Qingwan picked up some food for me with the serving chopsticks and looked at me gently. Do you miss your dad? Lost in thought, I nodded, hesitating to speak further. Lin Qingwan noticed my hesitation and proactively asked me, What's wrong? Is the food not to your taste? It's my fault for forgetting to ask what you like to eat. I shook my head, then glanced at Lin Qingwan. No, it's just that I often hear that wealthy circles keep many golden canaries. Dad doesn't even seem to care about picking up his own daughter, and he's not coming back for dinner either. Does he have another family, like I've heard? As soon as the words left my mouth, Shen Mingzhu, who had been glaring at me angrily, also opened her mouth in surprise, not expecting me to say something so shocking. Lin Qingwan's face paled a few shades upon hearing my words. She forced a smile and replied, "It's nothing like that. Don't overthink it, the company is so big. It's only natural that Dad is busy." That night, despite the house's excellent soundproofing, I still heard the sound of things being thrown and broken downstairs. I stepped out of my room to see what was happening, only to find Shen Mingzhu had also come out. She looked at me with eyes full of hatred and said, "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, Mom and Dad wouldn't be fighting." I glanced downstairs and saw that Lin Qingwan was no longer the calm and gentle woman from before. She was hysterically throwing things and questioning Shen Guohua. Shen Guohua watched Lin Qingwan's outburst with a cold gaze, only stepping forward to forcibly embrace her after she had vented her emotions. Lin Qingwan struggled a few times but eventually gave in. I couldn't quite make out what Shen Guohua was saying, but I could tell that Lin Qingwan was likely to be pacified very soon. Shen Mingzhu visibly let out a sigh of relief, then glared at me fiercely, saying, "Just wait and see how I'll tell Dad about this." I watched as Shen Mingzhu hurriedly ran downstairs, immediately grabbing Shen Guohua's hand and shaking it. Lin Qingwan wiped away her tears and forced a smile as well. I watched the happy scene of the family of three for quite a while, and just as I was about to return to my room, Shen Guohua called out to me. I obediently went downstairs, naturally not missing the gloating in Shen Mingzhu's eyes. "Since you just came back today, is there anything you're not used to?" Unexpectedly, Shen Guohua only asked me this, and I casually brushed it off with a few words. "Your mother and I owe you a lot." While Shen Guohua was speaking, Lin Qingwan still wore a forced smile. I glanced at her, then looked at Shen Mingzhu, who seemed completely oblivious to the situation. Seeing that things weren't going as she had hoped, Shen Mingzhu grew anxious and said, "But Dad, that still doesn't give sister a reason to deliberately cause a fight between you and Mom." Shen Guohua's brow furrowed briefly before quickly smoothing out. He looked at me and said, "Xiao Ran has just returned home and isn't yet familiar with the situation at the family company. It's only natural that she wouldn't know my usual working hours." I glanced at Shen Guohua, but I really didn't mean to stir up trouble. Just now upstairs, I felt that Dad was too cold toward Mom. It made Mom look like a madwoman. Mom kept talking, but you didn't say a word. "Have you two really finished arguing?" Lin Qingwan suddenly cried out, covered her face, and sat down on the sofa, sobbing. I felt somewhat helpless. I really didn't mean to stir up trouble. The Shen and Jian families have a marriage arrangement, a cliched story. I poked at the sandwich on my plate, thinking it wasn't as delicious as the soy milk and fried dough sticks from the shop downstairs, and absent-mindedly listened to Shen Guohua and Lin Qingwan discussing the marriage alliance. This marriage arrangement was set when they were children, Shen Guohua said. "Whether it's Mingzhu or Anren, they are both children of the Shen family." Lin Qingwan frowned, looking at me and then at Shen Mingzhu. "What about you? What do you think?" "I'll let my sister have the engagement. I've already taken so much from her." Shen Mingzhu bit her lip and said hesitantly. I glanced at her. "I'm not trying to stir up trouble. I just want to ask, why are you giving me something that nobody wants? Why not give me the jewelry in your room or the money in your bank card?" Shen Mingzhu's face instantly turned as ugly as if she had eaten something disgusting, and the dining table fell completely silent. "Sir, Mr. Jian Chuyang is here." The butler led him in, and I glanced at him curiously. He looked somewhat familiar, not a familiar face from financial newspapers, but one often seen in entertainment news. Jian Chuyang gave me a discreet glance before turning to Shen Guohua and saying, "Uncle and Aunt, hello. I heard the true heiress of the Shen family has been found. I'd like to discuss the marriage arrangement again, Brother Chuyang." Upon hearing this, Shen Mingzhu immediately ran over familiarly and linked her arm with his. "You're finally here. Did you bring me a gift this time?" Jian Chuyang gently patted Shen Mingzhu's head and pulled out a small jewelry box from his pocket. Shen Mingzhu immediately opened it to find a pair of beautiful pink diamond earrings. I glanced over, and Shen Mingzhu immediately shot me a smug, boastful look, though she pretended to be modest. "Sister, Brother Chuyang doesn't know you yet, so he didn't bring you a gift." how about I give this one to you instead? Jian Chuyang glanced at me, then looked at Shen Mingzhu with disapproval and affection. Mingzhu, you don't have to be so considerate, this is a gift I bought especially for you. When Shen Mingzhu looked up at Jian Chuyang, her eyes instantly reddened. She forced a brave smile. I've already taken over my sister's place, so it's only right that I give in to her. It's fine, I don't want handouts either. I recognized it at a glance as a giveaway made from the leftover materials of a recently popular set of pink diamond necklaces. Shen Mingzhu's smile instantly froze on her face. What do you mean? I shrugged. Since she asked, I had no choice but to answer. I looked at Jian Chuyang and said, I really don't want to stir up trouble, but are you giving Shen Mingzhu a giveaway because you look down on the Shen family? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present changed their expressions. Jian Chuyang's face was particularly grim. Shen Mingzhu glanced at my phone, confirmed that the earrings in her hand were just a free gift with the entire necklace set, and her expression darkened as well. Shen Guohua put down his bowl and said with a stern face, all right, no more talking, it's the thought that counts. Once you're done eating, go upstairs. I nodded, then glanced at Lin Qingwan, whose face was full of anger. Before heading upstairs to my room, Shen Mingzhu stayed a little longer before catching up, indignantly saying to me, it's just this time's gift that's like this. Chiang Gij brings me a gift every time he comes, then why don't you marry him? I glanced at Shen Mingzhu and retorted, I'm not trying to stir up trouble, but if he gave you the freebie, who did he give the real thing to? Does he wear it himself, or does his mother wear it? Shen Mingzhu was left speechless and began to realize something. Maybe it's better to tell mom to call off the engagement. He's not such a great catch anyway. After saying that, I entered my room and immediately closed the door. Shen Mingzhu stomped her feet angrily at my door. Don't even think about driving a wedge between me and brother Chuyang. In the afternoon, Lin Qingwan insisted on dragging me and Shen Mingzhu to go shopping at the mall. Along the way, Shen Mingzhu pretended to be warm and chatted with Lin Qingwan. Shen Mingzhu made Lin Qingwan laugh from time to time. The two of them were so close that it made me seem like the real outsider. I didn't really mind, but Shen Mingzhu deliberately came over to ask me, her face full of conflict and guilt. I'm sorry, sister, have mom and I been ignoring you? You just came back, so I should let mom take more care of you. Lin Qingwan comfortingly took Shen Mingzhu's hand, pulled her into her arms, and patted her back. What a good child you are, so thoughtful. Shen Mingzhu collapsed into Lin Qingwan's arms, smugly smiling at me and silently mouthing the words, Mom loves me the most. I watched Shen Mingzhu blink, then grinned widely. Shen Mingzhu shuddered, sensing something was off. I'm not trying to stir up trouble, but are you deliberately being so intimate with mom in front of me? After all, I haven't seen mom in 20 years, and our bond needs time to grow, yet you keep denying me the chance to talk to her. Do you not want me and mom to get along? Lin Qingwan's guilt began to shift toward me. Her expression froze, torn between pushing Shen Mingzhu away and meeting my unwavering gaze. Why doesn't mom hug me? Is it because she thinks I'm not as good as her, even though I'm her biological child? I blinked my big, beautiful eyes and stared at Lin Qingwan. Lin Qingwan looked embarrassed and reached out to pat Shen Mingzhu. No, you're both the same in my heart, both my precious babies. Shen Mingzhu's face turned extremely ugly, but she immediately straightened up in a fluster. I'm sorry, sister. I never thought that way. Lin Qingwan took my hand, and to prove that she really wasn't playing favorites, she also took Shen Mingzhu's hand, trying to balance things out. Shen Mingzhu was so angry her face turned green, but out of consideration for Lin Qingwan, she didn't retort a single word to me. Later, while shopping, Shen Mingzhu learned to behave and didn't say another word to me. When we got home, Shen Mingzhu's piano teacher was already waiting in the living room. Lin Qingwan suddenly remembered something and quickly spoke up. Mingzhu has been learning piano with a teacher since she was little. Are you interested? If so, you can learn with the teacher too. Before I could even speak, the piano teacher eagerly chimed in. She glanced at me, unable to hide the arrogance in her eyes. Learning music also requires talent. Not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry can be taught by me. As she spoke, she gave me a disdainful glance from head to toe, then turned to Shen Mingzhu with a loving smile. Come, Miss Mingzhu, how have you been practicing the new piece I taught you the other day? Shen Mingzhu bit her lip and glanced at me, hesitating to speak, but ultimately closed her mouth. I looked at the piano teacher and took the initiative to pull Lin Qingwan aside. saying, "Mom, is she belittling me? I'm not trying to cause trouble, but I feel like this teacher seems to look down on me." Shen Mingzhu, hearing me speak, immediately stepped away from the piano teacher and shook her head at me, saying, "I didn't say anything. Is she a relative of the family? Why can she criticize me like that, calling me a stray cat or dog?" I glanced at Shen Mingzhu and continued. Lin Qingwan's face had already turned cold the moment I spoke my first sentence. She looked at the still confused piano teacher and said, "You don't need to come anymore." The piano teacher finally began to panic. She looked at Lin Qingwan, then at me, and said, "I'm sorry, I spoke too hastily. I can teach well, I can handle both young ladies." Lin Qingwan wanted to say more, but was interrupted. Shen Guohua walked in carrying a cake, smiling as he tried to embrace Lin Qingwan, but she subtly avoided him. "What's wrong? What has my dear wife gotten angry about this time?" Upon seeing Shen Guohua, the piano teacher immediately knelt on the floor, pleading, "I'm sorry, Mr. Shen, Mrs. Lin, I can teach them well. I will do my utmost to teach the two young ladies." Lin Qingwan's expression grew even colder. She called for the butler to have the teacher escorted out, then looked at Shen Mingzhu. "For the next few days, practice the piano on your own. I will find you a new piano teacher." Then she glanced at me again and let out a deep sigh. "If Anren wants to learn too, I'll find you a new teacher as well." Shen Guohua seemed to have figured out the situation and chuckled a couple of times, placing the small cake on top of the piano. "Oh, don't be upset. If you don't like the piano teacher, we can just change her." Shen Mingzhu nodded repeatedly, then casually pressed a couple of keys on the piano. Seeing Shen Guohua watching her play, she reached out and pulled him to sit down. "Dad, do you want to play together for a bit?" Shen Guohua declined a few times. "How would I know how to play the piano? I'm fine just watching you." Shen Mingzhu hugged Shen Guohua's arm and coquettishly shook it, saying she wanted him to help film a video. Shen Guohua indeed started playing the piano. At first, it seemed like random playing, but as he continued, he gradually became more skilled, and even the piece started to sound somewhat familiar. I looked at Lin Qingwan, whose face showed surprise. "Mom, Dad can actually play the piano. This is the first time I've known about it." Lin Qingwan nodded, then shook her head. "Mom also just found out that Dad can play the piano, and it sounds quite impressive." I looked at Lin Qingwan with some surprise, then glanced at Shen Guohua. "Mom and Dad have been married for over 20 years, right? Has he never played for you even once?" Lin Qingwan shook her head, and I immediately added, "Mom, I'm not trying to stir up trouble, it's just, now." Whenever Lin Qingwan hears me say I'm not trying to stir up trouble, her brow can't help but twitch. "Go ahead, Mom is listening." I glanced at Lin Qingwan, cleared my throat, and said, "This song is called Love Across Time and Space. It's a piece often played as a duet. Dad plays it so skillfully now, so he must have practiced it a lot back then." Lin Qingwan seemed to remember something, her face suddenly turning pale and weak. I stepped forward to support her. "Mom, what's wrong?" Lin Qingwan shook her head, saying nothing, but her eyes suddenly reddened. Shen Guohua and Shen Mingzhu were still playing the piano over there. Unaware of anything, Shen Mingzhu couldn't help but exclaim as she watched Shen Guohua's skilled technique. "Dad, you must know how to play the piano. I've practiced this piece too. Ha ha ha, back in the day, your dad also." Shen Guohua's voice abruptly stopped. I lowered my head and chuckled softly. Noticing that Lin Qingwan's expression indeed turned even paler, I pulled Shen Mingzhu and went upstairs, taking the small cake along with me. That small cake was probably brought back by Shen Guohua to comfort Lin Qingwan, but it was topped with quite a bit of mango, based on my observations over the past 2 days. Although there are mangoes in the Shen household, only Shen Mingzhu eats them, while Lin Qingwan doesn't touch them at all. So Lin Qingwan, like me, must be allergic to mangoes. "You really don't care at all. What are you doing?" Shen Mingzhu shook off my hand unhappily and questioned me with dissatisfaction. "Don't think that just because Mom and Dad feel guilty toward you, you can replace me. I am the eldest daughter of the Shen family." I raised an eyebrow and handed her the cake. "Just eat your cake." They're about to argue. Shen Mingzhu immediately leaned over to look downstairs and indeed saw Lin Qingwan and Shen Guohua speaking in hushed tones. "You're stirring up trouble again." Shen Mingzhu suddenly realized what was happening and pointed at me, scolding, "You've only been back for a short while, and you've already caused Mom and Dad to argue twice." "No," I shrugged innocently. glanced downstairs, and then looked at Shen Mingzhu. I really didn't mean to stir up trouble. I was just telling the truth. You did it on purpose. Shen Mingzhu stomped her foot in anger. But just as she was about to say something, her phone rang. Shen Mingzhu glanced at it, then proudly showed me the screen. Look, Brother Chiang contacted me again. This engagement can only be mine. Did you find out who that last set of jewelry was for? I retorted. You. Shen Mingzhu choked, glared at me angrily, and then answered the phone. Hello, Brother Chiang. Do we really have to bring my sister? But she just got back home and isn't very familiar with the rules of our circle. I'm afraid she might cause some trouble. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the sister Shen Mingzhu mentioned should be me, so I couldn't help but lean in closer. Shen Mingzhu turned her head and bumped right into mine. She winced in pain, saying, Xia Anren, how is your head so hard? In the end, Shen Mingzhu still took me to a high-end club. The club was membership-based. Shen Mingzhu took out a membership card, swiped it, and deliberately strode in without waiting for me. I glanced at Shen Mingzhu's retreating figure and sent her a message. If you're not back in 10 minutes, I'll call Mom and ask for the membership card here. In less than a minute, Shen Mingzhu returned with a face full of anger and swiped the card for me. You're really annoying. Shen Mingzhu was fuming, but as soon as she reached the door of the private room, she immediately changed her expression. I was amazed at how quickly Shen Mingzhu could change her expression. So I didn't follow her inside. There were quite a few people inside, and while everyone's attention was on Shen Mingzhu, I decisively found a seat by the door and sat down. After sitting down, I suddenly realized there were hardly any women inside. I keenly observed that Jian Chuyang and another man were seated in the center, looking relaxed and smug as they watched Shen Mingzhu talk to other men. TCH, I sighed inwardly. It seemed they were treating Shen Mingzhu and me like dishes to be served. Is this the real heiress the Shen family found? No one knew who steered the topic toward me, but all eyes turned in my direction. A flicker of jealousy flashed in Shen Mingzhu's eyes before she forced a smile and said, yes, she just returned to the Shen family. The place she used to stay isn't like the Shen family, so she might not understand some things. Please be understanding. It seemed like she was making excuses for me, but she successfully sparked another wave of discussion. No wonder she smells a bit shabby. The real heiress doesn't seem as elegant as Shen Mingzhu. Listening to these comments, Shen Mingzhu curled her lips smugly. While I found it rather boring, do you love gossiping so much because you're about to die soon? The private room suddenly fell silent, and I smiled with satisfaction. Jian Chuyang looked at me with displeasure. Everyone was just joking. Why do you have to take it so seriously? Then I was just joking too. So why are you taking it seriously? I returned his words exactly as they were. But Jian Chuyang's expression immediately turned unpleasant. The others quickly smoothed things over, and I sat back down, feeling utterly bored. Have you heard? Jian Xiaoye's White Moonlight, by Ji Wei, seems to be returning to the country soon. As soon as I heard the gossip, I perked up, having been about to find an excuse to leave. I shifted in my seat to listen more closely. But isn't the Jian family about to get engaged to the Shen family soon? Oh, right. But I still feel like Jian Xiao prefers his first love. Otherwise, he wouldn't have only found one lookalike substitute all these years. I secretly glanced at Jian Chuyang, shaking my head with a hint of disdain. And he claims to love her. He can't even keep that little mushroom of his in check. The marriage arrangement between the two families was definitely meant for Shen Mingzhu before. But now that the real heiress is back, who will the engagement fall on? The conversation circled back to me and Shen Mingzhu again. Feeling somewhat bored, I shifted my position once more. Finally, I made up some excuse and left first. I had wanted to take Shen Mingzhu with me, but she was too foolish to realize she was just a dish on the table here. Once I stepped out of the private room, I had no idea which way to go, so I just wandered aimlessly. As it happened, I ran into Jian Chuyang, who had come out at some point. Jian Chuyang had just been slapped hard by someone. I glanced at the face of that good person, delicate and fair, yet with tears welling in their eyes. The substitute, or the White Moonlight. I bet it's the White Moonlight. After all, a stand-in wouldn't dare hit their patron. Ah, Jian, I can't come back to you anymore. Don't you already have an engagement with the Shen family? I also heard that you have someone else by your side. Hearing these words, I secretly clenched my fist. Yes, I bet on the right one. Jian Chuyang forcefully pulled the person into an embrace, continuously saying something. No, you're the only one in my heart. I only love you, don't you know that best? I already wanted to leave at this point, but unfortunately, these two were blocking my only way out. Bai Jiwei resisted a few times before she stopped moving and obediently let Jian Chuyang pull her into his arms. She noticed me, then, she raised her eyebrows at me triumphantly, as if she had mistaken me for her love rival again. This was our first meeting. Ah Jian, Bai Jiwei deliberately feigned panic as she pushed Jian Chuyang away, then looked at me. Is she your fiancé? Jian Chuyang, pushed away by Bai Jiwei, immediately looked at me with some displeasure. She's not. Just a country bumpkin who was just brought in from outside. Hearing Jian Chuyang's words, I finally couldn't help but roll my eyes, then looked at Bai Jiwei. The Jian family is so wealthy, but in the 3 years you were abroad, it seems he never once bought a plane ticket to visit you. I don't mean to stir up trouble, but I just heard them say that Jian Chuyang also has a girlfriend and is engaged to the Shen family. So, does that make you the mistress or the fourth wheel? Bai Jiwei's face instantly turned ugly. What nonsense are you talking about? Jian Chuyang's face also darkened. He narrowed his eyes dangerously, looking at me as if I were already dead. Xia Anren, do you want to die? Do you want to break the law? I stared at Jian Chuyang with utmost sincerity, watching him clearly choked by my words, and smiled with satisfaction. Law? Jian Chuyang smiled like a villain, his words shockingly rebellious. Here, I am the law. Come on, come on. I took out my party emblem and held it right in front of his eyes. Say what you just said again. Facing this, Jian Chuyang stepped back as if scalded by that flash of red, then glared at me. Mingzhu said you love to stir up trouble, and it turns out it's true. When I got home, I didn't see Shen Guohua, only Lin Qingwan sitting alone on the sofa, quietly weeping. Mom? I sat down beside her and immediately noticed the photos spread out on the table, looking closely. They were all pictures of Shen Guohua's infidelity. Well, I picked them up and skimmed through them. He even has a love child. Lin Qingwan held my hand. Anren, thank you. If it weren't for you, I might have been kept in the dark and manipulated by this scumbag for the rest of my life. I smiled indifferently. Then, drawing on my years of experience in community mediation and breaking couples apart, I gave her some advice. What you need to do now is check how much money he has spent on his mistresses and try to recover as much as you can, as quickly as possible. Also, remember to check if he has secretly transferred assets, embezzled company funds, or incurred any debts at work. Lin Qingwan was so focused on listening to me that she didn't even have time to cry. After I explained the general situation and process to her, I finally picked up my water glass and took a sip. I've said so much. My mouth feels quite dry. Lin Qingwan looked at me and suddenly lowered her voice to ask, Anren, tell me, did you already know? My action of drinking water paused, and then I pretended not to have heard anything as I stood up. Mom, I'm going back to my room. Lin Qingwan was right. I had indeed known about Shen Guohua's affair for a long time. Before the Shen family found me, I already knew I wasn't their biological child. I had investigated the hospital and eventually confirmed that I was most likely switched at birth. Then I traced it back to the Shen family. I wasn't switched by accident. Shen Guohua deliberately swapped me with Shen Mingzhu back then. After that, I discovered that Shen Guohua was still supporting his first love on the side, and they even had a child together. I hadn't even had time to react before the Shen family sent someone to pick me up. I sighed. Hoping Lin Qingwan would truly understand the situation, Lin Qingwan said she wanted to hold a banquet for me, formally introducing my identity to everyone, and then asked if I wanted to change my name. Thinking of my long-deceased adoptive parents, I still shook my head with a smile. No need, the surname Xia is just fine. When I first discovered that I might have been deliberately switched by Shen Guohua, I even checked to see if my adoptive parents had any connection with him. After all, although the Xia family wasn't poor, compared to the wealth of the Shen family, their modest fortune was nothing more than a drop in the bucket. But after investigating, I found that aside from coincidentally being in the same hospital for childbirth, the Xia family had no contact with Shen Guohua whatsoever. Shen Guohua is truly disgusting. This clearly offers him no benefit whatsoever. After all, I also carry his blood. He willingly and knowingly raised Shen Mingzhu, likely secretly mocking Lin Qingwan as a foolish woman while watching her dote on Shen Mingzhu. Lin Qingwan and Shen Guohua have already begun the divorce process. At first, Shen Mingzhu cautiously asked her mother why, even coming to curse at me. I glanced at her lazily, thinking only that this person must have water in her brain. Maybe I should go talk to mom and let you continue the arranged marriage with Jian Chuyang. After Lin Qingwan and Shen Guohua confirmed their divorce, she immediately went to the Jian family to cancel the engagement, saying she would take both her daughters with her. Shen Mingzhu didn't know what exactly happened that day, but after returning, she blocked Jian Chuyang. Hearing me say this, Shen Mingzhu immediately shook her head. I don't want that kind of rotten cucumber. I looked up at her in surprise, then calmed down again. After all, no woman with eyes would want something dirty. Do you think mom would want it? Shen Mingzhu immediately fell silent, then looked at me for a long time, hesitating to speak. Did dad really cheat? Yes, I nodded. I never thought Jian Chuyang would come knocking on my door again, but the last time I heard news about him was because his White Moonlight, by Ji Wei, and the substitute he was raising had a big fight. In the end, neither of them wanted Jian Chuyang. He was pulling at Shen Mingzhu at the door, his eyes red. Why did you call off the engagement? Shen Mingzhu impatiently shook the person off and then slapped them. Why? How dare you ask such a question? Jian Chuyang stubbornly continued to pull at Shen Mingzhu. Mingzhu, Ji Wei and I are already a thing of the past. I love you now, love me. Shen Mingzhu pulled out the pair of diamond earrings from her bag and threw them at him. You love me, yet you try to fool me with freebies. And you even found a canary who looks like Bai Ji Wei to keep. Do you really think I know nothing? Also, you didn't come to me for my sake, did you? It's because you realized that without the marriage alliance with the Shen family, the largest supplier of the Jian family has also stopped cooperating with you, right? Shen Mingzhu rolled her eyes dramatically. Do you really think I'm a fool? I never liked you in the first place. If it weren't for that guy Xia Anren, why would I ever give you a friendly look? Just as Shen Mingzhu said this, I happened to be passing by. I glanced at her and said, are you jealous of me, or do you love me? You must be crazy. Shen Mingzhu was so angry that her face turned green, and she turned around and ran away. Lin Qingwan not only recovered all the money Shen Guohua spent on his mistress's family but also uncovered all the evidence of his embezzlement of public funds. I happened to be at the Shen group when Shen Guohua was taken away from his office. I watched Shen Guohua, looking utterly bewildered. As handcuffs were placed on him, he quickly snapped out of it and started cursing at me. You bitch, if it weren't for you, how could that Lin guy have found out? I should have strangled you back then. I smiled at him. Men really are that despicable. As soon as Shen Guohua was locked up, Lin Qingwan immediately filed for divorce. I heard that Shen Guohua, while in prison, absolutely refused to agree to the divorce. After dealing with the Shen family's matters, I returned to work at the community mediation office. The mediator sister who was mentoring me happened to be mediating for a newlywed couple. When she saw me come in, her eyebrows twitched. I looked at her, about to speak, but she sharply scolded me. No, you are not allowed to speak. No, really. I'm not someone who stirs up trouble. I'm just telling the truth. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.